win today. A great win. The game just ended probably about 10 minutes ago. And my last analysis was a little long. This one's going to be a shorter analysis. A very, very interesting win for the Ravens today. Um, I I don't want to say I was skeptical of the Broncos. Their record was 5-3 at the time. They're 5-4 now after the loss. But I was very. I don't think that team. I don't think the Broncos. Their Broncos is a decent team. I don't think they were as good as their record showed, and a lot of people made them out to be. So the Ravens won 41-10. Um, Started off first quarter 7 points. Second quarter they balled out 17 points. Third quarter 14 points. Right. This conversation is going to be more about the defense than the offense, but let's talk about the offense real quick while we're here. Derrick Henry, of course, scoring 2 touchdowns, getting over 100 yards rushing for the game. Uh, the Ravens' offense looked pretty much unstoppable, which they have looked for the most part this season. I know a lot of people complained about last week not running Derrick Henry enough. And I think the Ravens did the same thing they did last week. They started off trying to spread out the defense, trying to keep the defense honest so they don't pack the line. And that's why they started off with a lot of misdirection like they do. They started off with a lot of pass plays to start off the game. And then they would give Derrick the ball. So I don't think the Ravens want to start off just pounding the ball. I think they want to score quick, get a quick lead, and then pound the rock from there. And I think it worked out perfectly for them, being able to score 41 points against a pretty good. I would give Denver's defense. Denver's defense is pretty good. So that was good to see, good to watch. Lamar was masterful, as he has been all season long. The only issue has been really receivers dropping the ball or the offensive line not holding up. And the offensive line did a pretty good job today for the most part. I believe they allowed 1 sack. I could be wrong. Could have been 2 sacks. I'm gonna have to go back and check the stats. Uh, Sacks allowed. Ravens allowed 1 sack. Okay, and that was in the beginning of the game. And that I blame that. It it was two parts between the offensive linemen. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. It was the right guard or right tackle, I believe it was. I have to go back and look at it. And then Lamar. Lamar sometimes has this tendency to, on his drops, to, instead of doing a 3-step, he'll do more like an 8-step. And so he's so far back. I don't think the offensive linemen expect him to be there. So he pretty much stepped back into the defensive lineman pushing against the offensive lineman. If he'd have stepped up, he'd have had a better chance of getting out of that sack than he did. And of course, there was somebody coming from the left side, but I think if he'd have stepped up, if he'd have stepped into the pocket, he probably could have took off and ran. But he dropped back a little too far, trying to survey the field. I don't know if the linemen were just in his way. He really couldn't see, and that's the reason why he dropped back so much. So that's the reason why that sack happened. But besides that, they really didn't go to the tight ends much. I believe Mark Andrews might have had 2 catches. I think it was mainly Zay Flowers. Bateman caught a couple passes. Good thing he didn't drop any. I think the previous week when he did very well, I think there was still a lot of negative comments about his post-game interview. And I think that might have affected him. I'm not going to say what was said in those comments. But I think that's what might have gotten into his head, and the reason why he didn't do as well last week. But he didn't drop any passes. Offense didn't drop any passes. Lamar was smart. You can only throw to Aguilar twice in a game. He'll make the first 2 catches. You throw to him to a third time, he's gonna mess up. They didn't throw to him more than twice. I think he only had 1 catch. I think they only threw to him once, honestly, and that was the first half. Deontay Johnson, which I didn't think was a good pickup. I think he was. If the receiving core can't stay healthy, then yes, he's a good pickup. But if they stay healthy, then I think they might have wasted that trade. We all know what Baltimore really needs is a strong edge rusher or a cornerback. But we'll stay on the offensive side of the ball. Likely really didn't get no play, which sucks because Likely is an extremely good talent. Um, they probably could have traded him, even though I don't want to get rid of him. But you could probably got rid of Likely to a team that needed a tight end for an amazing defensive player, and probably would have looked like a good trade. Because Mark Andrews, coming back after injury, I think he came back too quick last year. Of course, I don't think they should have utilized him. I think they should have waited until the Super Bowl to use him. I think that's what kind of messed up the offense in the AFC Championship game. I think he's been doing a good job of working himself back. He's getting back to where he needs to be. But his connection with Lamar, I know the Ravens aren't going to pay 2 tight ends big money. So it's a matter of, do you keep Andrews or do you go with Likely? Likely is younger, up and coming. Andrews sacrifices a little bit better when it comes to run blocking, pass blocking, whatever he needs to do. So I don't know. If Mark Andrews stays healthy for the rest of the season, then I would look at keeping Mark Andrews. And then Culver coming on. He didn't do anything this game, but just him in the background as well, being able to, okay, we're not going to pay 2 big tight ends, so we might let one go. Zay Flowers was amazing. When he's healthy, he picks defenses apart. He knows how to sit in those open areas. He's fast. It's hard to keep up with him. He does a lot of misdirection, so it's hard for the corners to stay with him. So that's good to see. Yeah, that's it for the offense. Offensive line did a great job blocking. You only had that one misstep, but for the most part, they blocked their asses off. As for the defense, this defense looked like it did against Buffalo, which looked good. They had a chance to get an interception. They made it. Unlike last week, they couldn't catch a cold. I don't know why. But this week, they did a good job. But I think the score really didn't match what the game was. I think Sean Payton, even though he gets credit for the coaching job he did as the Saints, I think he's in over his head now. I don't think his style of football works. And I think he was trying to match Baltimore by putting points on the board, trying to get touchdowns to match them instead of kicking the field goals, because they probably should have had about 4 or 5 field goals. The momentum wouldn't have shifted so much, and the game probably wouldn't have been as much of a blowout as it was. I think Sean Payton tried to overcoach things, and that was the issue. Bo Nix looked decent. He didn't look as good as everybody's making him out to seem. He had a lot of passes where he was overthrowing his receivers. I mean, he can get out of the pocket. He can make some throws. So I think he's good. But does that make him a better quarterback than like Zach Wilson was, or Mac Jones, or somebody like that? I don't think he's in the same realm as like a Jaden Daniels. It's yet to be seen about Caleb Williams. But he seems like he'll have a pretty good career. Yeah, it's his rookie season. It's Baltimore, but Baltimore's defense hasn't been playing well, as we all know. But they got 4 sacks today, which was great. It didn't feel like when I'm watching the game, I don't remember them getting 4 sacks. I'll watch it, And the defensive line sometimes got pressure. For the most part, they weren't getting pressure. Um, it didn't seem like Zach Orr was dialing up the blitzes like he normally does. I think they probably had way less number of blitzes than they had last week against Cleveland. It was good to have Marlon Humphreys back, um, even though in some place he looked like he was a little slower than usual, and that was an issue with him last year, was injury. So I hope that's not the same problem with him this year, because before his injuries last year, Marlon Humphreys was considered one of the top corners in the league. So it'll be good. Williams was back after his absence last week due to a team decision to bench him. He played pretty well. He did give up that pass play, passing touchdown to Bo Nix. Um, I think it came from Sutton. Sutton threw the pass to Bo Nix, and Bo Nix caught it over Williams in the end zone. Yeah, I know he's not gonna be happy about that. Hamilton played a great game. Stevens was decent. I like Stevens. I think Stevens is a smart player. I just think Stevens lacks speed. I don't think he's that fast. If Bo Nix could have connected on a few more of his passes, it definitely would have been a better game, because he had a pass to, I believe it was to Humphreys, and I think it was Mullet um, that was defending, and he got beat. And if it was so similar to the play last week where Lamar missed Zay Flowers, he overthrew him, and it would have been a touchdown. That's the same thing that happened. He overthrew Humphreys, I believe it was, and that could have been a touchdown right there. So I think it was a great win. We take all wins that as we can take them. I just don't think we should be happy or ecstatic and start jumping to conclusions and say the defense is back. Um, I don't think the defense is back. I think this was a better game. I've been saying this because a lot of people say Zach Orr needs to go. They need to get rid of him. No, he's been coaching pretty well. He's had his players in the right position. It's just players not making plays. Defensive line not getting the pressure they need. Defensive backs not catching balls when it comes time for interceptions, and then corners or safeties letting wide receivers get behind them. And that's the thing, as a safety, you should never let receivers get behind you. Like, you shouldn't do it. And the only time that should happen is unless you're on a blitz. And, if Hamilton's called on a blitz, then okay. But a great win for the Ravens. Lamar played well. Henry played well. Patrick Ricard caught a touchdown. And I was looking at my DraftKings. I was betting today. And I was going to put Ricard. I was thinking about it. I was like, I think he's going to score a touchdown today. And I was going to put him on the team. And I was like, and I didn't do it. And I missed out on that touchdown because I knew he was due for one, whether it was a running one or a passing one. I knew he was due for one within the next couple weeks, and it happened. But great wins, Ravens. Way to go. Dominating performance. Now next week, everybody's going to be talking, well, on Monday, tomorrow, everybody's going to be talking about, well, Ravens might be the best team in the league again. Because after they got beat by the Browns, they were like, oh, we're concerned. We're concerned about the defense. We're offense still isn't. It looked good today. It looked really good. Lamar looked really good. The offensive line looked really good. But when you face a team, it was still the benchmark is still Kansas City. And facing Chris Jones, with Chris Jones in the middle, can the Ravens offense look like this with a pass rusher like Jones disrupting the middle of the field or the middle of the line? And I don't know. And that's why I said the Browns was a great test, because you had Myles Garrett. They're on the same level, and Myles Garrett was disrupting things. So the offense didn't look as good. Crosby, when we faced the Las Vegas Raiders and taking that L. Somebody disruptive like that. So we'll see. Coming up, play Cincinnati again. Cincinnati had a big win today. They scored in the 40s as well. I don't know what the final score was, but they scored in the 40s as well. So that I hope doesn't go to overtime again. I want the Ravens just to get out there. If their defense plays well, hopefully that can be a very easily won game. But I don't know. So we'll see. But thanks again, Ravens flock. I'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good one. Peace.